you say hi? Now my little man is turning 4 here very soon, which means we're going to have one of these. Around the theme of his very, very favorite TV show. And so we need a party game of some sort. So I have a very limited time, but I have come up with what I think is a clever and on-theme game that we can make out of scraps we have lying around the shop. So my idea is to make a themed ring toss using PVC rings, this cardboard mailing tube as you-know-whose arm, with a you-know-what at the end of it. In order to attach my arm to the backboard of my game, I'm going to need some discs. I have adjusted my standard run-of-the-mill fly cutter here to cut me a proper sized disc to fit in to my tube nice and snugly. If you're going to use a big fly cutter like this, you will have to probably have a drill press. I don't see how you can hold on to it one-on-one. I'm going to cut 5 more of these. I am cutting it out of cedar, in part simply because I had it, and in part because it's a softwood. It does not cut without splintering very well, but none of this will be seen anyways, so it's sort of irregardless. Now that I have my 6 mounting points, it's time to build the, yeah, you know what I mean. In order to make and after struggling, trying to cut these tighter radiuses with the bandsaw and with the jigsaw, I'm going to go back to that same fly cutter. It's still set where it once was before, and a scrap of pine. And I'm going to bore 3 holes in here, and then I'll cut up my board to make my, the thing that I'm looking for. So anyways, cut them up, right? And then you're going to remove everything that's not, So that'll mean coming in here and nipping this off. That'll mean coming in here and taking that down. And probably cutting this back like that. Something to that effect. Choom, choom, choom. Choom. So here are my all cleaned up. And I just did a little routering on the edge and a little sanding just to make them a little smoother. And I'm now going to glue them to these. But at the beginning, I just want to glue it. Hopefully now you can kind of beginning to get the idea. It's okay if they're not perfect. Kids have great imaginations. Then as soon as it's had a chance to set up, I'll carefully pre-drill and put 2 small screws in top and bottom. That will hold this fine. Now with my you-know-what's all made, it's time to give them a wrist. And so I'm going to give them, I think, about yay much. This. It's like waiting for ketchup. You're going to want to, I think, put the glue on the inside so that any squeeze out happens inside the tube.
Daddy, what do you put on my dog?
Yeah. Then if you stand them somehow upside down like this, any of the glue that you weld up inside there will then get a chance to run back down alongside, and as it hardens up, it'll hold everything nice and firm. And that's where having a nicely sized disc is very important. Now that my helper has had to go to his bunk to catch some Z's, we can talk a little more freely about what we're doing. So I'm going to mount the hooks on this, and this is just a faux antique cabinet door. Gosh, I've had it for years and years. It's part of some project test sort of thing, and you know, what good is one random cabinet door? I'm using the circles that were cut out of the hooks because they're thicker, and I'm going to go ahead and mount them here, and I've marked it right down the middle. So with a fortifying bite of chocolate chip cookie, which always helps do this, this will be centered on my mark, even though it's a painted surface, and therefore really won't stick completely. It's never a bad idea. Use a little wood glue. And that now becomes what my hooks will mount to. Move my cookie. So the game will look something like that. Just on here, so many points. With a room full of 4- and 5-year-olds, I think hanging is going to be good enough. So let's get the other hooks mounted and the rest of the chocolate chip cookies eaten. It seems to me when I run across Mr. Hook on the high seas, he's always dressed in his trademark black coat. So that's what I'm going to do here, is I'm going to give these cuffs, and that's essentially what you've made, is Captain Hook's cuffs. I'm going to give his cuffs here a coat of flat black paint. This is just a flat black latex house paint. There we go. My rings are sections of 4-inch sewer line. I also picked up some 8, and I like the bigger rings a little better. 6 probably is the perfect size, but I was having a hard time cutting them nice and square on the saw, so I fell back on just simply 4 inches. So I'm cutting them in sections about 1/2 inch long. In order to do this, I have to roll my guard up first and then plunge down. I'm not saying you should do that. It's clearly dangerous. It is, however, the only way I can get this saw to cut this pipe. I made 12 rings total, and they'll be painted 2 different colors, 6 aside. Before you do that, you need to take some sandpaper. I'm using 150 grit here, and just knock the edges down a little. It also serves to rough them up so the paint will stick better. There you are right there. Just do that 12 more times. Here they are sanded, and I've decided to paint half of them gold and half of them silver, because those seems like fine pirate colors to me. Coming time to line up my hooks, and I'm actually leaning towards this configuration here, where they go sort of back and forth. So I'm thinking about, I just think that would be better and more interesting than having them all in a straight line. Same way we did it before. Bead of glue around the inside edge here. Run your finger around to smooth it. And working them on. Set it at a level place. Give that a chance to dry. Probably now you can recoat your rings. Back out with my buddy, and we are cutting the back, the rear support, and that's just nothing more than a scrap of plywood. We're going to make a little tripod. So I know the cupboard door I use is 33 inches. I've got it just a whisper short because I want my thing to lay back. It'll be more stable if it leans back. So now we just whack it off here. And then that will be the rear leg. We like our recycling around here, and so this is a resistance hinge. That is, it has a snap in location and a plastic bar that makes it stiff, which works good for me. And I'm just going to recycle it. It's going to go right here. And so once this is screwed to that, I'll be able to tip, and that will both lean my thing back and give it some stability. So all we need to do, center this, drill the holes, screw it in place, and we're almost done. With the back leg all attached, the only thing really left to do is paint those, you know. One thing I would advise, if you had time and inclination, is put a chain right here, so this thing can only open so far. That way it'll just lock in place. If you're going to do it on carpet, it's fine. On a hardwood floor, it's going to slip and fall out. There we go. And you can see, each one's a little different. It just gives it some grain pattern. And that simply comes from just the paint dumped together, and then I dip out of them. Mixed together, it just makes a poop color. But dipping out of them, that's kind of cool. Here we can see I followed my own advice and added that limiting chain. Now, whether it's carpet or hardwood, it'll pop open and stay open where it needs to be. Can't wait for it to dry, and we'll get her inside and give it a try. What do you think, buddy?
What do you think?
What do you think?
What do you think, Daddy?
Oh, I think that as soon as you figure out what it is, you'll be happy.
I can't. I lost in the piece, Daddy. It's this. I made that piece right there, sitting on the table by you. That.
Mm-hmm. You need the piece by me?
It's like that. It's from like that.
Is it this piece?
Mm-hmm.
What are you building?
Broken.
That's quite something. You got some molding and a little cardboard box you've got this slipped into. Yeah.
It's big.
Every offcut
has to go into his little pen. And he gets very upset when I take them out. So I have to wait until somebody's in bed. And then the wood fairy makes it all go away, doesn't it?
Did you cut this, Daddy? Piece?
Right there. Can you say bye-bye? Can you wave to the people on the internet?
Bye.
Good job.